Hi, we are really living in really difficult times. This pandemic has caught all of us by surprise. I hope all of you are taking good care of yourself. I hope you're all doing well and you're all following the instructions of your medical advisors in your respective countries. And I'm confident that as humanity, we will come up with solutions and ways to be once again efficient and productive and more insightful and have a lot more humanity because of what has happened. My name is Sabu Francis. I run a small little IT startup at Navi Mumbai, India, and I've been working in this area of remote working for quite some years. I'm basically an architect, and my core work is in one design software which I use to design my buildings. And last few years, it is now available for other architects to use, and that's a separate story by itself. But along with that, last few years I've been conducting a lot of experiments to see how the paradigm of the real world architecture and how we use spaces in real world, how we can use that paradigm and bring it onto the internet and be productive there. That's quite a nice coincidence in one sense that that all this research work is now hopefully going to help all of us and make us more productive and a lot more in control of our team members who are now sitting in remote locations. So last few years I wrote a fair amount of code and I did a lot of experiments. I even wrote a graphical layer on top of Facebook to see how people organize their material in a memorable manner so that you can understand what you have posted and things like that. But unfortunately Facebook changed their API. I also lost interest, and anyway, that was an experiment. So I've been collecting together a lot of notes of what is the thing that on one hand we use a lot of spatial paradigms. We say, did you visit that site, or what do you think about going to that particular address? Now these are all actually terms which we use in the physical world with real world architecture, right? But we use that on the internet also. At the same time, the internet does not have the real type of spaces which we have in the real world. Like the distances are not measured by time. In the real world, if 2 points are far away, it will take more time to reach those 2 points. But on the internet, there is no sense of that. Everything is just a few nanoseconds away from each other. So we are living in very intricate times. I will not say complicated times. And it is best that we start working and going deep into our roots and figure out that, okay, if we have to now work together on the internet, what should we do? So I have in this particular talk, I'll be talking about three critical points. If you resonate with those 3 points, I strongly urge you to take a look at this nice little team management system called TeamTwine, which puts all your team members together onto a spatial paradigm, a graphical paradigm, and then you can all work together and be in reasonable control of how you are going about doing that. If you do not resonate with the 3 points which I am about to explain, then also you are welcome to give me feedback of what are the points which you thought are really critical in your understanding of team management. What are the things which irks you? What are the things which irritates you? Why am I asking that is because there are some famous examples where companies, large companies have gone into the remote working paradigm and made their staff work from remote locations and then retracted from that. Like IBM is a very famous example. If memory serves me right, in 2017 they came up with one directive saying that all the people who are now working remotely, please come back and join some nearby IBM office or you leave the company. And that kind of made me sit up and take notice. So there is some kind of inconsistencies and issues which people have not fully resolved. I, being an architect and also a theoretician in this area and also a software guy, I put all this thing together and I've come up with these 3 points. Please take a look at it, and these are the reasons why I think TeamTwine could be of a good assistance to all of you. So here is the first point, which is the issue of interruptions. Now, this is pretty easy to understand. Nobody likes to be interrupted when they are working, right? When we work, we have two types of mental states, I'll call them. One is, I call it as meditative state. And the second one, I call it as receptive state. The meditative state is when you are so focused, that a particular person is so focused on the work. It's maybe carrying out something on Photoshop, or he's thinking through certain material for a marketing campaign which is about to be launched, or he's working on some code, or some invention, or whatever that company is doing, completely lost in that. Of course, we know that nobody likes to be interrupted when you're in that state. But there's another state which is a receptive state, where you are wanting people to really participate in whatever you are doing, and then you kind of look around, and then you start looking at information on how you can, which can assist you to help whatever you're doing. Maybe you're doing some coding and then you got stuck somewhere, you went and looked at some Stack Overflow, and then that also didn't give you the answer. So now you are actually looking around and saying, okay, will somebody here inside my office start helping me? Now, I'm putting all this in terms of architectural context, because that's where I come from. I believe that architectural context is a very important part in bringing together team members. And what happens is, regular team management software, there are many of them nowadays. There is Slack, there is Mattermost, there's Zulip, there are some open source ones, there are some closed source ones, there are several Kanban systems like Trello, and all kinds of solutions are available. But none of them really gave you a sense of presence of people around you. You have some status messages here and there and all that, but it's also buried in the interface, and many times the interface is so slick that the slickness itself makes it confusing, which I'll come to very soon, what I mean by that. So these systems are continuously interrupting you. They found that people waste 1 to 1.5 hours per day because of interruptions. 1.5 hours. I mean, that's crazy. Like, you may wonder, I just got interrupted a few times. How does it become 1.5 hours? It's because we have to switch from whatever we are doing. Even a receptive state doesn't mean that person is off his topic. He's just looking around for additional information. And the fact that he's looking around is actually an architectural experience which he's searching for. But what the software is doing is that it is not knowing what state you are in. It'll tell you, okay, this guy is busy or something. Some message will be there, don't disturb, I'm encoding or whatever. But people are generally putting up things on the Slack channel and things like that. They're all coming up over there, and many people resort to actually switching off notifications. Some people say that, okay, I will look at only this particular channel. I am getting too confused by whatever which is going on. I don't want to be into everything. But the real thing, which really I've seen actually happening, is people understand and they look around and say, oh, that guy seems to be busy. I better not send a message here because he may get irritated. What he's doing is that he's using his physical understanding of people's presence around him and then converting it to an IT technology decision whether he should chat or not chat, because he knows that if he starts chatting, that guy there will get disturbed, and he doesn't do that. So we don't realize it. I've been looking over and taking notes for quite some years to figure out what people are really doing. I fortunately work out of an incubation space, 17,000 square feet, and there are some nice 20-25 companies there, small, nice little startups. They're all earnestly working together. All of them use Slack or Zulip or something or the other, Mattermost, and they are trying to get that thing organized. But the real work is because of the spaces. Somebody claps their hands and they all gather together, and there is a very important stand-up meeting which happens then to see what the team is doing, and then they disperse once again and then get back to work. Now, that's an architectural experience actually. That's not really from their Slack software or Mattermost or whatever. So I feel not having an architectural interface is actually becoming a big disadvantage. And maybe that's the reason why a lot of these managers, they are not getting an idea of how efficient are these people, and they're a little skeptical. So I think the middle management are the one who has started becoming disappointed with team management software when people are working in remote locations. So that's point number one. The second point is kind of a tongue twister, pardon me for that. I call it the stack map problem. Now, what the stack map problem is, now behind me you can see 3 stacks of books which you can see over there, and there are many other stacks of books around in my house. I operate nowadays, as all of us are doing, from our respective houses. humans have always organized their lives around, boxes and cupboards and wardrobes and shelves, and things going into the right location, just to appease their mind and reduce the information overload. Why do we like coming back to our home? Because our home is not a dynamic place. You don't see the stack suddenly changing up and down. It will be very, very unnerving to see that. But if you take a look at the way current team management software works, you will have a set of channels over there. You have marketing channel, you have development channel, you have sales channel, you have whatever channel, you have HR, you have so many channels over there. Each of these channels have got nicely stacked thing, and maybe one message box at the thing with a button over there, and people start typing here, and again the stack keeps changing on top, one above the other. They don't map very well. If you notice these stacks actually are not the same. It's not the same books which are arranged here. Each shelf has got its own different colors and different names of the books. Not just that, there are curios like this particular glass dog which is there, is kept on this shelf, and that actually helps me remember that particular shelf. So I can say, okay, I think that particular book which I want, which is a paper which I wrote in a conference, that is in this shelf which has got this glass dog over there. And this is pretty natural to us. We arrange things in a slightly disorganized way, and in that slight asymmetry is what actually makes the things memorable. If everything was very slick and very uniform and very, very neat and very nice, they're not memorable at all, actually. And you get this uneasy feeling that something has happened in all these places, but I do not know where they are. So many of the people, when I looked over how people work, they form their own tips and tricks to figure out how to go about organizing their idea about where they are in that particular space. And many of them actually use regular physical space, like the way they used to do for years together. We have lived without computers, right? Computers and internet came only last 30 years. Before that, people were using regular spaces. So people have their own set of curios, or a photograph of their family on the desk, or some other things which reassure them that, okay, things are in order and in control of what they are. These kind of things are not there in such interfaces. So it's not just an interface problem, but it's also a conceptual problem. So let me come to the third point, which is called multiple streams. Now, what I mean by multiple streams is that, again, let me draw this particular interface. And again, let's me talk about the various channels which is there. A certain team management software use some other terminology. I think some people use a term called room. Some people, Zulip uses a term called stream. Slack and Mattermost, they use channel. Whatever it is, so these are all organizing stacks which is there. And each of this contains three types of stuff which appears on inside, one above the other, because of the chat and whatever which is going on in that particular channel. One is called tactical items. Tactical items are things which needs to be done. There is no strategy behind it. You need to send that particular marketing message. The graphics has to be made, and the message has to be conveyed, and it has to be posted on Facebook and LinkedIn or whatever. So that's a tactical instruction which needs to be done. The second one is called strategic discussions, which the top guys would be usually doing. They will be mulling over something. They will talk about the holistic nature of their business or that part of the business. They'll discuss about, should we do this strategy for marketing, or should we do that strategy for marketing? All those discussions will be there. And there's a third type which I'll call as general chit chat, which is things like how are you, and how's the weather, and how's the family, and things like that. They all get interspersed. But what is happening is, which is even more insidious, is that all these three things are happening individually in each of these channels. So there's three sets of things happening in this channel, another three happening there, another three happening here, and suddenly your brain does not know where things are. I've seen situations where people say, oh my God, I think I had given that instruction 2 weeks back in the marketing channel, but then I had to do something else in customer support and I forgot about it. So he goes back to marketing and then he says, what happened to that particular point which we had raised? What happened to that? And then people are a little awkward because in the meantime, that particular stream has gone up and up and it has disappeared somewhere. In fact, I sometimes feel people use smileys and things like that just to develop some kind of idiosyncrasy, something like this glass dog over there, just to get an idea about, okay, I know that, we had laughed a lot and there were a lot of smileys in that particular discussion, but they just don't work. Eventually, like, your brain is all fried up because there are so many different streams of thought which is there. This is not how we work in the real world. Think of a time when there were no computers, no internet, and I can think of it. I'm 58 years old. So there was a time when I was working in offices which did not have computers. So when you remember that particular office and what you did in a particular day, you don't have multiple streams. You have only one stream of consciousness, which is what's going on in your brain. And you come back home and then you recollect, you have a sequence of things which happened. And I said, okay, this time I spent in this cabin doing this part of the work with this. I'm an architect. So those days I was working as an architect. So we worked on that particular project. Then I did some drafting, which was some tactical actions which has to be done. Then I went for a meeting outside. We have only one stream in our brain. And that one stream is good enough for us to kind of holistically get an idea of how things progressed for me individually, at least. So whereas all these team management software have this fait accompli. I'm not going to blame them. They never looked at it as an architectural paradigm. They thought that it's more of a database activities. And unfortunately, that overruled the human needs of getting your brain together. And this three issues, one of interruptions, one of stack map problem, and the third of having multiple streams, all these three things, if you see, the solution really lies inside architecture and the way the team gets organized around inside physical spaces. But where are these representation of this physical space? It's not there in regular team management software. That is why TeamTwine got invented. And what TeamTwine does is to get you back in control. The middle management now knows where people are in that particular office. Why so? Because TeamTwine actually gives you a floor plan. So you can have a very simple floor plan with each person getting his or her own private cabin. Each person's presence is known by the avatar, one small circle with different color with a name written on it, and each person is physically aware of what is happening here. And this is how we really handle our interruptions and understanding of where people are. If I find that a lot of people are gathered together in this room and they are not there in this room, these rooms are empty, they'll say, oh, okay, there's a meeting which is going on there. This is not rocket science. This is what we do daily. We are presence driven. We see things around us, and TeamTwine gets that presence back. The twine which connects everybody together is the physical space, or in this case, the representation of that physical space. So you may be physically located at different location, all your team members, but all of them are in that same virtual space. It's like a small game. In fact, a lot of us have played such games. All these multiplayer shooter games and all is based on understanding the presence of people around in that landscape. And that works really, really well. So I brought that concept on a 2D surface into your screen. Very simple, very neat interface. Plus, there is only on the right hand side, there is one stream which is available, like the way I explained to you. We just deal with one stream. And how does the nature of the stream changes? It changes based on where you're located. So your location in this space becomes very important. So if you're located in this room, which is for marketing, and there are other people who are there, suddenly you find that this conversation is for these three people in this marketing, and it's all about marketing. The moment you move yourself into, say, software development, and there are 4 people there or 6 people there, this same stream has now changed, and it's now talking about software development. Here it is graphic design, and now this thing start talking about graphic design because you moved over to graphic design. So now, instead of having multiple channels and everything, mind you, those channels are still there. It's just happen to be in these rooms, just like in physical rooms, which would be there in regular offices, right? You would have a room for marketing. You will have this division for people used to divide their spaces there. Then you could have a conference room where everybody can gather together. All that you can design for yourself. You can even change the design as your team grows. Right now, this software is for small teams, 40, 50 people teams, but very soon I'll give multiple floor capability. So you can have any number of people all working together with TeamTwine. And the Twine is the space which connects all of them together. So I hope you will take a deep look at this particular software, which I'm about to launch. And I hope let's all fight this pandemic, introspect, become better human beings, and come up with a nice way of becoming really efficient on the internet space. Thank you so much.